In this segment, we're talking about paying down debt and creating cash flow. There's a new one with Tommy Hegna, nationally recognized retirement speaker and best-selling author. And Tom, that's the end game. We're talking about managing debt. I don't see the world doing this. I don't see our U.S. government or states doing this, but we have to do it.
We have to.
For our family.
Absolutely.
So I'm looking at this. Our president, Andrew Jackson, the $20 bill, right? I think that's the one they're trying to change, right? To cover the he says, when you get in debt, you become a slave. You think that's too strong?
No, well, I mean, look, it's like I said in the last segment, if you use debt wisely, but most people do become slaves to debt because they don't manage it. It's too easy. It's too easy to spend it now. All you're doing is taking from your future and spending it today. And if you take all your future and you spend it today, what is your future going to be? It's going to be much reduced. And they forget about the reduction of the future. They like spending it today.
Well, think about it. We're talking about I just told Andrew Jackson, president, how about President Thomas Jefferson? He said, never spend money before you have it.
Right. Again, cash is king, and you should pay cash for things. Don't use those credit cards. Those credit cards can you got to be very disciplined. Very disciplined.
I think when we look about this, we're trying to come to a place where we don't become indentured servants to debt. That's really the bottom line.
Right.
And so our goal is we want our families to be prosperous. We want America to be prosperous. We do. And we just have to get a handle on our debt. Now, maybe it's going to be reversed. Maybe the consumer is going to show the way to the government at the state level and the federal level to show the way, be an example. And that's one of the goals. I mean, I saw one of Dave Ramsey's burning mortgages online.
Right.
I mean, getting out of debt. Can you imagine being the last one I saw, I think, was like 44 years old, and he doesn't have a mortgage anymore.
Right.
How happy is that family?
Well, they're happy. I mean, I've not had a mortgage for quite a few years, and I'm happy about it. Getting out of debt is so important. Look, there's some ways to get out of debt. Like if you're in debt, there's some different strategies. And you quoted Dave Ramsey, and I say I agree with about 85% of what Dave Ramsey says, and I'm all for what he says about getting out of debt. He doesn't really understand some financial products fully, but he does understand debt, all right? Because I think he did go bankrupt, or he had financial problems. But look, there's several strategies. So one of the strategies, Steve, is you start with the highest interest rate. So if you got 5 credit cards and one's paying 14, one's 15, 16, and you got 2 that are 21, you might want to start with those 21 percenters and pay off the highest interest rate first. There's another strategy that says pay the smallest debt first. And you'd say, well, why would you want to do that? Well, because each of these come with a minimum payment. And as you can start knocking off the number of minimum payments, you can add more to your others. So if you can start, let's say you got 2 that are really small and one that's really big, knock those 2 out first and then really attack that bigger one.
Okay, and again, our whole reason for doing it is not only getting out of debt, but we're trying to create cash flow so that we can start saving vehicles, which we're going to talk in the next segment. Now, when I'm talking about sometimes, like you said, which one are you going to do first? You need to look at both sides of the equation.
Right.
And I like to see what kind of cash flow I can develop almost from the get-go if it's possible.
Right.
Now, when I'm thinking about this, I'm looking at my savings accounts. You know, we talked about this in the last segment. The traditional thinking was 90 days. Now we're trying to create 6 months of savings, not just 90 days, 6 months. And to your point, I think I'm looking at the new strategy of trying to buy, like you said, you bought your truck. It wasn't new.
No.
And we're looking at new strategies all the time to see if we can buy, well, maybe not an appreciating truck, but one that it's already discounted and we're paying a less price for it.
Right. On depreciating assets, you want to pay as little as possible. You want to get the best value, okay? On appreciating assets, again, you want to buy when it's low and you want to sell when it's high. But another strategy for paying off debt would be, just simply pay off more than the minimum. If the minimum is $75 a month, send in 100, send in 150, send in 125. I think Dave Ramsey kind of came up with this thing called snowballing. And snowballing is a way that what you do is you pay the minimums on most of them and you attack one of them. All right, with a lot extra, and you just pour extra money in there. Once that's done, you then move on to the next one, and you pay more on that one. And so what you're doing is, as you pay them off, you're snowballing so that you got more and more and more of your assets focused on fewer and fewer debts. Now, the key is you got to stop using that credit card.
Right.
You can't pay off this one and then run one up over here. And unfortunately, that's what happens to a lot of people. They pay off this one, but they're running up this one. And then they pay this one. It's like kind of like whack-a-mole. They're trying to whack-a-mole. You've got to stop the spending.
Well,
reduce the spending.
There are people that are into their personal Ponzi schemes. I mean, doing exactly what you just said. They pay this one down. That looks great. FICO score goes up for a few months, and then they're back over on another card. And by the way, I gotta tell you, I cannot tell you all my life how many cards I get invited to join with every year.
Oh yeah, I shred them all. I put those in the shredder.